Carrying your gun in a purse is better than leaving your gun in your car. But I think that's about it. Hey everybody, welcome to Whiskey Lead Steel, Feeling Short While You Wait, the official podcast of Aggressive Defensive Solutions. I'm Rick Sutton, and joining me today is Jeremy Phillips. Hi Jeremy, how are you?
I'm good. And you?
I am fantabulous.
I can't even spell that.
Yeah, me neither. So today what we're going to talk about realistically, we're just going to go over some stuff. Some of the ladies from W3, shout out to Women with Weapons crew, decided to come out and take a class and get some practice in on shooting from the draw. Some of them had some bags that they wanted to shoot from and various holsters and various carry methods. And so they wanted to come out today and get a class on how to do all of those things and get a chance to actually shoot their guns from their bags and from their holster and see what they thought. So Jeremy came out and helped me. And again, like many of the other classes, many of the podcasts that we do about classes, this is just about, hey, these are some of the things that we saw that were good, some of the things that we want folks to be aware of as you're going out and look at your training and working towards things. So we're not really chucking rocks at anybody. We had a good AAR with all the ladies, and so everything we talk about, stuff they heard about. Yeah. So, so from your side of the range, from what you were watching, what are some of the good things and some of the things that you think people really need to pay attention to that you noticed today?
Well, interesting that, we're teaching to a different dynamic than we belong to. But, you and I have been doing this long enough that, we have experience and we see some of the ins, outs, and what have yous of, women trying to carry weapons concealed, understanding that, garment choices and body styles are different. And with that, are some different things that you and I don't have to think about being,
exactly.
American male. But, interesting that they still take it on board. And, a lot of times, we bring up, hey, this is a problem. We're not telling you to change it, but you need to be aware of it. And they took a lot of that on board. And some of them are, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. But, hey, this is how I'm going to do it. Okay, hey, we're presenting ideas. If you have, as we've talked about on the podcast, if you think otherwise, we're happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's always a pleasant group to work with. And yeah, I do love coming out and helping you with those classes. So, seeing that and seeing the, hey, here are some of the challenges. And some of them came out with 3 or 4 different concealed carry methods to try, which,
that's pretty
hey,
cool.
this is a place to do it if you're going to. So, happy to have them do that. So, very fun to see them come out with an open mind and accept our input and see them improve throughout the day.
Yeah. So to that end, one of the things that we saw, they came out and they brought out and they talked about purses and they talked about bags, and we got into the whole ins and outs of pros and cons to on body carry, off body carry, and then if you're going to carry your gun in a purse, what's the best way to do it? What are the upsides to it? What are the downsides to it? I expressed this and they understood that, but like for my money, carrying your gun in a purse is better than leaving your gun in your car. But I think that's about it. Part of the problem that I see with carrying your gun in a bag is that it's either really easy for you to set it down and then the gun is not in your possession and not in your control and it doesn't do any good, or depending on how you carry it, it's either really easy for somebody to grab it and run off with it, and then they have your gun and your wallet and your car keys and all the other things that women carry in their purses, which I'm glad I don't have to carry all that shit. Or it's across your body, and now somebody's got to fight you for it. And so one of the things that we had with that was we had one of the women had a bag. She had it across her shoulder. It was a fairly sizable bag. And I said, okay, well, so if I grab your bag, now what are you going to do? She had a great response. She reached into her pocket and she pulled out her self-opening pocket knife and said, I would stick you with this, which is a great answer. However, I said, well, that's great if we were just standing here.
Yeah.
Well, what if I grabbed your purse and
Punch you in the face.
yanked the purse, punch you in the face, whatever. Or yanked the purse and got the purse out of the position you're used to drawing from. Yeah. And they looked at that and they took it as a learning moment, and nobody got their feelings hurt, nobody got bent out of shape about it. But it illustrates, and we talk about this with everybody, with all the gear that you carry, no matter what you're doing, but especially for defensive carry stuff. Statistically speaking, you're not going to be in the perfect shooting position with the perfect gear and the perfect clothing, in the perfect everything when things go to shit. Quite
Absolutely.
the contrary. And so you've got to be prepared to, well, if I'm rolling around on the ground and I carry my gun in a holster on my belt, what are the chances that this thing migrates on me? And if it migrates, how do I get to it? And if it migrates, maybe I ought to get a different one. So the thing that you've got with the purse there is, if this is where you always grab, and that's great, that's cool until the fight happens, and now your purse is over here.
Yeah.
Are you used to getting to here? How do you used to getting it there? That kind of thing. But everybody seemed to have a really open mind about it. And they were like, okay, well, we're going to give it a shot. So they gave it a shot. I had a couple of people who went, yeah, I bought this bag and I was really excited about this bag, and I'm not carrying this bag. I'm going to do something else, which is cool. Again, go to the range, use the range as a test bed, figure out what it is that you're going to use, figure it out that works, what doesn't work. The biggest thing that I saw, especially for off-body carry, is it just takes so long to get the gun out.
Yes.
You know?
And I brought that up at one point, that I was standing at the end when we were doing the dry fires, and we had 2 out of 5 with purses, and they were always the longest to present a weapon.
Yeah.
And the different purses, presented different problems of their own. The one woman did have the purse that had the leg strap on it, which was interesting.
Yeah, the Han Solo purse.
Yeah. Had never seen that before. Not that I follow women's fashion all that close, but
well, I mean, you are a naval officer.
Yeah, gotta play with what you can.
Yeah, and that was kind of a cool idea.
It was.
And she seemed to work through it. And of course, it had had a big flap over it, and then it had a zipper, so it was pretty complex.
But to prevent against purse snatching just by itself,
yes,
absolutely great idea.
Well, and of course she rides a motorcycle a lot.
Yes.
So I think she rides like that, so she has access to her wallet and stuff for tolls and shit like that.
Sense.
Yeah. And not a bad place for her to carry her gun if she's doing that. My only problem with that is, and I this happens a lot, to go down this rabbit hole. So I see these holsters that people make that are designed to go on your hip, and then they put a spare magazine pouch on the holster. Yeah. So it's really not easy to get to. It's really counterproductive. And I understand the idea of, oh, well, it does all this for you. And I think these purses are the same kind of thing. Somebody had a good idea with good intentions, but because they're not shooters, and because they're not active, they're not engaged in moving around and shooting, they go, oh, this would be a great idea. We have everything here with one close package, and yada, 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 yada. Oh, I'm going to put a gun in a purse. Well, so we want to make sure that the gun doesn't fall out. So we put 2 or 3 different zippers and a holster and a flap and all these other things to make sure that it's secure, which does make it secure. But
the more secure you make it, much like a level 4 holster that's answering a question nobody asked.
Yeah, but I mean, you run into, security on your holster is not unlike the difference between mobility and stability for shooting.
Certainly.
It's stability, being able to get the gun out and having the gun secure are continuously at odds.
No, certainly.
But yeah, that was an interesting thing that she had.
There was that, and then, another thing that we brought up, was how many of them were wearing belts?
None of them were wearing belts. Well, I take that back. The one lady was wearing a belt. The one with the little blue hat.
Okay.
Yeah, But of course, from a women's fashion problem, and we talked about this, women's fashion in the United States does not lend itself to women wearing belts.
Yep.
Because they don't wear belts. They have to come up with and the whole thing about wearing yoga pants all the time. Good Lord have mercy. So, and if you want to wear yoga pants, that's your business, have at it. But if you're wearing yoga pants, you are not concealing your handgun very well in your waistline, and you don't have any place to mount your magazine, mount your holster. And so if it pulls your yoga pants down, or if your yoga pants roll over and the gun falls out and skitters across the pavement, that's just this whole thing.
Yeah. And I mean, we did talk about belly bands and stuff like that you could wear with elastic clothing, which makes it less problematic. I don't want to say it makes it better, but it makes it less problematic there. So we did talk about that some. But
they had that, what was that thing that they called? Some kind of belt system that went
Yeah,
Bolt
that had the
holsters.
leg strap that went down. I forget what it was called, but yeah, but
it was weird.
essentially a belly band with a leg strap. But,
Yeah, which wasn't a horrible idea, but
no,
looked clunky.
it did.
Because two of the women had them, and they seemed to work okay, but they were kind of clunky. It was like something, from the 1980s military style. Like, so you had a like
Yeah.
a MR, like a Molly belt, and
Your
some
old
kind
mare's leg holster with a leather strap around
yeah,
your chaps.
good lord,
Yeah.
yeah,
But that brings me to kind of the next one that again with those holsters and with choices of pistol, there are people taking recommendations from those who may not be the most reputable sources.
yes, and that was one of the things that we ended up chatting about too, which of course goes back to who is your instructor, who are you getting your advice from, who are you getting your knowledge from, and I'm not trying to roll a bus over anybody, but when you go to the car lot, the guy who is selling you the car, his goal is to sell you the car, whatever car, preferably the most expensive car because he gets a commission on it. Not necessarily the car you really want, but the car he wants, or that you need, but the car that he wants to sell you. And so we have talked about this in podcasts before, where and you don't know what you don't know, and that's the tough thing.
Absolutely.
But so you go to the gun store or the pawn shop or whatever, and operating under good faith of, hey, the guy at the counter is going to help me.
That he knows something.
That he knows something. He must know something. He's carrying a 1911 and a skeleton rig, and yeah, he seems really, really confident.
Most of your car salesmen aren't race car drivers. Why would your gun salesmen be gunfighters?
Typically, that's what happens. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of guys, I don't think, working at the gun counter who are firearms instructors. Usually the firearms instructors are the guys on the range. Maybe that might be who you want to talk to. And then you can't discount the idea of, we got screwed on this shipment of Tauruses. So, what you need, young lady, is a Taurus. You need this, or a Tang Folio.
Oh, yeah.
You need a
that's
Tang
what
Folio.
Tang Folio.
Yeah, or a Canuck or something. So, so that led to the conversation of, and this is difficult to do, I understand, but do your homework, do a little research, find somebody whose opinion you know and trust, who knows a little bit about this, talk to them. Buy some books. Do some research. Do not take all of your advice off of YouTube or Reddit or any of those folks.
Better yet, go to a range that'll let you run a whole bunch of different guns and try them out. I get it, not a lot of them are going to let you shoot from a holster and try different holsters out, but at least you can see, hey, I can operate this gun, which we saw struggles with today.
My hands are too big for this gun, which is as big a problem as my hands are too small for this gun. No. If your hand is big enough and your gun is small enough that you impede the operation of the weapon through the size of your hands, that doesn't do you any good, right? If you're causing problems, if you can't control the gun or you can't manipulate the gun, in either case, you're going to run into problems. And of course, the downside, the double-edged sword to that is the only way you can find out of that is you have to go to a range that will allow you to do enough stuff that you can draw and shoot. And get in and out of position.
Certainly, and understanding that's challenging. But you're right. The gun shop salesman, if you will, for whatever reason, the default seems to be, woman of smaller stature, subcompact.
Yes. You're a lady. You need a tiny gun. Well, maybe not.
Maybe that helps, somebody with a, 28-inch waist conceal it versus you or I, But, yeah, not giving her something that sets her up for training a lot, or training any.
And there are weapons out there. Their weapon size has gotten to where it is. Most of your compact weapons, something the size of a 320 compact or a Glock 19 or an MMP, the MMP compacts, most of those these days, thanks to modern materials, are small enough that most people in relatively decent shape can conceal those weapons. Now, I recognize that women's fashion does not lend itself to hiding anything on you in the first place. But like things we were talking about, Catherine Perez, who shoots with us, carries a gun, and So she always wears like a jacket or a vest or something, which we did point this out, nobody bats an eye at a woman or a lady wearing a jacket or a vest, even in the summertime. We can't get away with that.
Nope.
Yep. In July in Tidewater, if I'm walking around with a jacket on, that draws attention.
There's a word for that. Suspicious.
Yes. Sketchy. Today's word is sketchy. It's brought to you by Jameson's Black Barrel Whiskey. As in, that dude looks fucking sketchy. Right? Yeah, so those are some of the things that come into play. Overall, I think, now we did have some of the things because of how they've got to carry their guns, some of the draw technique.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got some of the biomechanics of it, of pulling the gun out and then like maneuvering the gun so that it doesn't hang on the clothing.
Or the purse.
Or the purse, or one of the things. So, and I had somebody who was running into that. And at the end of the day, it's a subconscious thing. Oh, yeah. So what happens is nobody wants to tear up their clothing. Well, I take that back. Most women don't want to tear up their clothing. Most dudes could give a shit, right?
There's that rabbit hole.
Yes. So one of the things that was happening is as she was drawing her weapon, her T-shirt was kind of hanging on her sights, right? So she didn't want to tear up her shirt. It's a brand new shirt. So rather than punching through the shirt and running the risk of ripping the shirt, she moved the gun. After we talked about it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. That's not a great idea." Okay. Which brings us to the aspect of, if you are, and to a lesser degree, we have this kind of thing going on. But so if you have to wear specific clothing that you're going to carry your gun in, if you're a lady and you're wearing women's fashion, which does not lend itself to this, then realistically, you should probably get some stuff like that that's a little less expensive and wear that for training so that you're not pushing your gun through the tail of your $70 blouse all the time, but you get in the habit of punching that gun through whatever shirt you're wearing. Yeah. Because let's be honest, if you're in a deadly force situation and you tear your shirt, who gives a rat's ass? Wow. It's like the whole training mags thing. Yeah. I tell people all the time, but have good mags, have factory mags that you have checked and you have tested, and those are the ones that you carry your ammo in out and about, and that's what you risk your life with. And then you have other magazines, either off-brand mags or just your old magazines, that those are the ones that you paint the base plate, bright orange. You take them to the range. Those are the ones that you drop in the rocks and they fill with sand and you step on them, you scuff them all up. And if they get broke, you get broke. Who gives a shit? You have training equipment and then you have carrying equipment. Yeah. Same thing goes with your clothing, if it comes to that.
No, and we get it, again, seen plenty of students come through here or whatnot, firearms training is not a cheap endeavor. No. Between the initial buy of the firearm, the ammunition, a training class, a holster, different clothing, we've got it. So, joining an organization like W3 where, hey, can I try that purse? Hey, can I try that holster or whatnot? Saves you a little bit there. Sure, the class is, whatever plus a membership fee, but would you rather do that or would you rather try buying 5 different holsters yourself to figure out which one worked?
Exactly.
So there's a little bit of savings to be realized in addition to getting training with a group rather than one-on-one.
Yeah, and to that end, I'll throw this out. This is another shout out to W3, another reason to join their organization. They have symbiotic relationships with a lot of organizations, ours included. And so it's entirely possible and probable that if you are a member of W3 and you take a class, I know for a fact, if you take a class from Aggressive Defensive Solution and it's part of the W3 package, you pay less for it than you would if it was in an open enrollment class.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and you're absolutely right. Then you get the opportunity to go, oh, hey, I was thinking about buying that holster. You have one. What do you think about it? Or can I try it or whatever? Same thing with guns. That's the whole go to the range and shoot somebody else's gun. It's a good thing to do. It's not a bad idea. And the other thing that, again, joining an organization like that does for you is, especially if you're new to this, if you join the organization and then you get to know the people and you trust the people and you go, hey, I'm thinking about getting some training. What do you think? Chances are somebody's been there for 3 or 4 years who's gone, well, I took training with these 3 different organizations, and here is where I would or would not ever spend my money again.
Yeah.
So you've already done some research there without it having to cost you anything, because, I mean, nobody wants to spend $500 in a day at the range and
500 rounds of ammunition.
500 to learn. I don't want to train with these people,
Oh.
because, I mean, it makes for a good podcast, but
Yeah.
I mean, you could have been working on your Jeep instead.
Yeah. I won't subject some people to things that I've gone through this year.
Cool. Well, so we talked about the fact they all had great attitudes and they all came away from learning. And if they had anything bad to say, we'd say it. But I tried to get them to say something. Mostly what they said was, we just want to do more of it. That said, they were all pretty smoked.
Yeah. Yeah.
4 hours on the range.
4 hours, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
Talking about different carry methods, talking about statistical assaults, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's a lot for 4 hours. Yeah.
And most of these folks had not shot from the draw, so not only the physicality goes into that, but there's a lot of intellectual stuff that's happening there, and people discount how many calories you burn thinking.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of self-reflection, self-evaluation there.
Yeah. But overall, I think it was a good training day. As always, I enjoy working with that crew. They come here looking to get involved and learn stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any rocks, bottles, bombs, or hand grenades?
No, good times.
All right. Well, so once again, thanks to the ladies from W3 who came out and spent their day with us. We really appreciate your company. Hope you had fun. We know we enjoyed ourselves. We enjoyed being with you. Give a shout out real quick to our friends Miguel Bosch at Gun Commander. If you're in the Baltimore area, if you're closer to Baltimore, Maryland, than you are to Norfolk, Virginia, and you want some good quality training, reach out to Mike Bosch. He's a great guy. He's a good dude. I served with him. And if you are closer to Charleston, South Carolina, than you are to here at Tidewater, reach out to Ron Ehlers, Ehlers, at Paredes. It's Ron Paredes, I think it is.
No.
Yeah. Again, he was in the Marine Corps with me, and he was a cop, and then he was in the Army, and now he's working for the Fed somehow. Great guy. Yeah, and he was here with us. Yeah, he was a good dude. So anyway, hope you found this enjoyable. I don't think we hurt anybody's feelings. I mean, maybe people carrying Canics or Bursas, but
Tank folios.
Tank folios, in case they're attacked by a lot lizard. All right. Be safe. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
Oh.
One of the women had a bag. She had it across her shoulder. It was a fairly sizable bag. And I said, okay, well, so if I grab your bag, now what are you going to do? She had a great response. She reached into her pocket and she pulled out her self-opening pocket knife and said, I would stick you with this.